listen, I don't want to be the type of guy to say that any MCU ranking is bad, but there have been a lot of responses from this MCU ranking in particular. And listen, I love Collider. This isn't me sending out a hit piece on Collider, but let's check out this MCU ranking from the Collider staff that's getting people talking on Twitter. All right, guys, so we've got Marvel movies ranked, all MCU movies from worst to best. Okay, guys, let's go over this because Marvels just came out, did not do that well at the box office, but let's talk about the ranking, and it's updated with the Marvels, starting at 33 with Iron Man 2. Not a bad start. I mean, listen, I've got Iron Man 2 bubbling around in my bottom 3. But right up under, or right above that is Thor: The Dark World. Another movie that I'm like, bottom 3. Easily bottom 3 material, y'all. I'm gonna be real with you. Thor: Dark World and Iron Man 2 are in my bottom 3 as well. So I'm looking at this list and I'm not side-eyeing yet. And we got The Incredible Hulk at 31. I'm like, you toss in a couple more movies there, you've got my bottom 5, really. So I'm not extremely disturbed by this list yet. Let's keep on scrolling. Okay. Doctor Strange might be the first one I'm like, oh man, okay, that's pretty strange. However, I could see an argument for it. I'm more of a strange of Doctor Strange, or more of a fan, excuse me, of Doctor Strange than that. However, I guess I understand if you have it that low. I just wouldn't put Doctor Strange, the first one, that low. And I actually like Multiverse of Madness a little more. So I don't know if I'd have them in the 30s. I think I have them in like mid 20s or something. Somewhere on my ranking, I've got them not that low. So let's keep on scrolling. And let's see. Okay, so like me, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. That's their next one. I've got that. I think I have that one above my Doctor Strange as well. On subsequent rewatches, I liked Multiverse of Madness. I had a good time. Again, though, I'm not going to put these two at 29 and 30. I'd have them a couple of spaces higher. Then we've got Ant-Man. That first one. So we got that one as the worst. I mean, under Quantumania, you know, hey, to each his own. But we got the first Ant-Man, and okay, so Ant-Man and the Wasp right above it, which I would agree with. I've got Ant-Man and the Wasp over Ant-Man, but I don't necessarily have Quantumania above these two, so I'm assuming that's what's going to be on the top. Yep. So I've got 26, 27, 28, Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then the first Ant-Man, and I'm like, I think what I would do is just bump everyone up and bump Quantumania down the bottom. So kind of move the ladder a little where it's like, okay, Ant-Man 2 gets bumped up 1, Ant-Man 1 gets bumped up, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania gets bumped all the way down. So I think I would kind of move them all, but that's just me personally. That's just my personal preference. Okay, so you got the Marvels at 25. I've got the Marvels at 17. So not too different. I think so far this list isn't crazy, but I think the Doctor Strange placing was probably the one I disagreed with the most. And then Ant-Man, the order is different for me, but again, it's all subjective. Let's keep on looking. We've got Black Widow above the Doctor Strange movies and above the second Ant-Man, which I had so much fun with, guys. We said, the person writing this article says, I really wish this one was better. We waited so long for Black Widow, and it was too little too late. The central problem is that because the movie arrived so late in the MCU that Natasha has already died, so prequel story was already drained of stakes. Yeah, totally get that. I totally understand. The stakes just aren't there. It's just, we know what's gonna happen in the story. We know that Nat is not gonna die. So the stakes here are much lower. There's some good action sequences, but I think that, unfortunately, Black Widow just falls short of quite a few things, and I think it has the Captain Marvel problem where there's so much not going on in one location that it kind of takes away. While I do love the film, or I'm sorry, I do love the family on screen together, I think some of those moments in the cabin kind of shut things down a little too long. But let's keep on moving because I think I saw something. Okay. Okay, Shang-Chi, in my opinion, is too low. I've got Shang-Chi in my top 15. I even love when people have Shang-Chi in the top 10. This is some of the greatest Marvel fight choreography of the films that we've got, period. Like, in my opinion, easily a top 10. Easily. But they got it down at 23, and I think that's a little low for Shang-Chi. I would not put him under 15. That's just me personally, though. It says there's a lot that it does right. I wonder what its plot is fairly uninteresting and constantly jumping between the present and backstories of Shang-Chi, his sister, and his father saps the film of momentum. I don't know. I thought Tony Leung was such a good villain that I was interested in seeing those past scenes, and I was interested in looking back in the past. Okay, so my biggest qualm with Shang-Chi is a similar one I had to Doctor Strange. I didn't feel compelled to see more stories about the character. All right, so I gotta disagree. I love the character Shang-Chi, and I want to see more of him and Katie together in the MCU. But I get it. I 100% understand the person just didn't really connect with Shang-Chi as much as I did. I get it. I understand. Let's keep on moving, guys. We've got Eternals at 22, which I think, depending on what spectrum of where you fall in this movie, could be way low or way high. But I think it's pretty low. I've got Shang-Chi. I've got Eternals in my top 10. 100% not ashamed to admit that. I know a lot of fans have Eternals in their bottom 5, bottom 10. I get it. I understand. It was not as enjoyable by the fandom as it was by me. I get it. I do think 22 is a little low. So let's keep moving. We've got Thor at 21. I think I should have reviewed my own MCU ranking before this, because I think I've got Thor at a similar placement, I think. But Ragnarok needs to be higher than that. But we got Thor at 21. All right, Captain Marvel. So I think Captain Marvel's a little high because of the things that are below it, in my opinion. I don't know that I put the 2 Doctor Strange films below this. I don't know that I'm putting... What else do we have down there? I mean, we had Shang-Chi, the first Thor. I don't know that I'm putting Captain Marvel over these. Definitely not over Eternals. So I think Captain Marvel's pretty high, which sounds weird because it's at 20. But I just think for me personally, I'm like, ooh, Captain Marvel's a little high. Wasn't as bad as this one list I saw like months ago that had Captain Marvel at 7. I was like, oh my gosh. But 20's a little high in my opinion. I would actually put the Marvels well above Captain Marvel. I've got the Marvels in like the 17. I've got Captain Marvels in like the 20s. So just gotta disagree. Far From Home, far from the top, huh? But yeah, Far From Home, I really like Far From Home. I do think it is the weakest of the trilogy now having gone back and watched Homecoming and No Way Home many times. I do think Far From Home might be the weakest of the trilogy, but it's certainly not bad. I think I've got it at a very similar placement, somewhere between like 16 and 19. Whoa, hold on. We've got at number 18, we've got Avengers Infinity War. So we've been going through this list, and let's remind ourselves what hasn't been called out yet. Captain America, the First Avenger. I don't think any Captain America films have been on this list yet. We haven't had Endgame, any of the Avengers movies. This is our first Avengers movie. And to put it far down at 18, I'm like, whoa, okay, that's pretty far down. I think Infinity War deserves to be maybe in that top 15, top 10 contention, but if we're gonna put it at 18, I don't know if I'd call Avengers Infinity War the worst Avengers movie, because that's what technically this is. The film's greatest strength, putting most of the characters into one movie, is its greatest weakness, because it's trying to get around to everyone and ends up getting around to no one. I mean, that's what we typically come to expect of the Avengers movies. I don't know, that one's a little rough. Okay, so we'll go am I seeing that right? Am I seeing that right, y'all? Am I seeing that right? Thor, Love and Thunder above Avengers Infinity War? Oh my goodness, y'all. Okay, that's high. That's high right there. I'm like, listen, agree to disagree there, but I'm like, Thor, Love and Thunder above the original Thor, above Infinity War, above Captain Marvel, above all these other really good movies, both Doctor Strange movies, both. I'm like, Thor, Love and Thunder? That is high. Above Shang-Chi, above Eternals. I mean, that's high. Above Infinity War? Okay, I think that might be my biggest blunder right there is that one. I'm like, oh my goodness, 18 Infinity War. What we got at 16, I'm nervous. Okay, so we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at 16. We gonna call Guardians Volume 2 better than Infinity War? I don't know that I can agree there. It's certainly better than Thor Ragnarok, but better than Infinity War? I don't know. I think Guardians Volume 2 is the weakest of the trilogy, so it's good to see that they've got, in my opinion, the weakest of the trilogy ranked the lowest as well. Let's go to 15. We've got Iron Man 3. Okay, a little high, in my opinion. I think I got Iron Man in my bottom 10, so Iron Man 3. So I'm like, a little high to me. Avengers Age of Ultron. So, my opinion, the weakest Avengers film. 18 for that Infinity War. Hurts this, man. It hurts. I mean, I'm just like, okay. Age of Ultron, really, really decent movie, but man, 4 spaces above Infinity War. I don't know. I mean, if you want to put Age of Ultron at 17, Infinity War right at 18. Okay, I see that. Maybe I see you. You prefer Infinity or prefer Age of Ultron. I get it. But man, I just don't think it is 4 steps higher than Infinity War. But that's just me. Let's keep it moving. We've got Black Panther Wakanda Forever at 13. An understandable rating. I've got it at 8, I think. So an understandable ranking. I don't find too many issues with that one. Guardians Volume 3 at 12. Again, another one I'm like, okay, not bad, not bad. Spider-Man Homecoming at 11, maybe a little high. I know that's surprising to hear from the Spider-Man fan, but Homecoming is really, really fun. It says it, that's the first line. This movie is so much fun. I 100% agree with that, and it feels like such a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man movie. Don't hate it, don't hate it. It's a little high for me. Civil War, okay, top 10. Top 10's starting off good. I have Civil War above Winter Soldier, but since we haven't seen Winter Soldier yet, I'm assuming we'll see that soon. We've got Thor Ragnarok at number 9. I think I have the same placement, either 9 or 10. Ragnarok was so good. It was the perfect mix of silliness, of comedy. It was so good, dude. So good. And then we've got 8 with Spider-Man No Way Home. Much lower than I've got it. I've got it at my number 1, baby. So I think No Way Home could inch up a couple of spaces higher, but I get it. We've got No Way Home at 8. We've got The Avengers at 7. Again, these are understandable placings, but I just think with the original The Avengers, there's just been better to come along, in my opinion. I mean, we've had Infinity War, which I would have put above even this original Avengers. I'm sorry. I know this is what started it all, and it was awesome back in its heyday, but man, 7? I don't know, man. 6, Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's go. Okay. We get the Guardians in there. Great. Endgame. Good to see it. Glad to see that wasn't blundered down to 18. My goodness. They blundered on that Infinity War. Okay, 4, Black Panther. We're looking good. We're looking good. I've got Black Panther in my top 5 as well. 3, The Winter Soldier. These top 5 aren't looking so bad. But now that we've come down to this list, I know 2 movies that I haven't seen yet. So Iron Man and Captain America First Avenger are the 1 and 2. Which I thought we were going to go Iron Man 1. I thought it was going to be one of those, okay, this has started it all. This is the beginning. Didn't go that route. So I'm going to scroll one more, and we've got Captain America the First Avenger. I just think there's so much better to have come along since Captain America the First Avenger. I think it is a really good superhero origin. I think it's a pretty formulaic superhero origin at this point. And especially for its time, very engaging, very fun movie. I like Captain America the First Avenger. Don't know that I'd make it my number 1. It just feels maybe like a Phase 1 apologist wrote this, because you got First Avenger in this, you've got Iron Man in your top 10, they've got not the Marvels, the Avengers. So it sounds like their top 10, there's a lot of Phase 1 stuff in the top 10. Well, that's 3 of 10. We've got second Captain America, Black Panther. So there's a mix in this top 10, but it's a lot of Phase 1 that is a little bit lower, in my rankings now. So going back to Captain America, again, I think this is so good, but it's such intro into the MCU, feeling like we're in the beginning building blocks of the MCU, so I just can't prop this up as number 1. For me, No Way Home was my number 1, but I mean, Take a look at that poster back there. I just think there's been so much better to come across than this. So let's be 100%. Is this the worst MCU ranking I've ever seen? Certainly not. I've seen some crazy stuff go up at number 1. I mean, I've seen Iron Man 2 at number 1 on some lists. Don't ask me who. Don't go after him. I just think this is quite the crazy list. I think right when we got to Infinity War, that's where I was like, whoa. I did not expect that placement whatsoever. I think everything else, there's like a fair argument, but I was like, man, Infinity War blew my head open. Guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. How did you feel about this ranking? Because, listen, I don't think it's the worst I've ever seen, but it's certainly a crazy one. Let me know your thoughts, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you next time on Geekly Goods.